Our new players have some numbers, and as silly as it sounds, it always intrigues me, so I'm sure it's going to intrigue you. I'll talk more about this coming up here on Locked on Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to Locked On Blues. I hope you were doing well. I am Haley Taylor Simon, your host of Locked On Blues, talking to you about all things blues here on the Locked On Blues podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk about the new numbers, which I am excited about. I'm also going to talk about, are we assuming the worst just because of the track record of the past two seasons? And of course, leadership with non-leaders. This is a question I put out on Twitter at Locked On Blues to get your opinion on a topic that I'm a little intrigued by. So we do have a lot to get to on this beautiful Monday, July 29th. Before I dive any deeper, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Again, it is a beautiful late July day. And of course, the St. Louis Blues did me good today by putting out the fact that there are some new numbers for the guys to wear the blue note this season. So let's dive into it just because I find this to be a lot of fun. And so we're going to start off with Ryan Suter, who is going to be 22. Now, I know what you're thinking, Haley. Are you just revealing the numbers? No, I'm going to talk to you about why I do think it's important. So, one thing about me is that I like to know the history of the numbers and the guys on the team that were the numbers previously. So, I'm going to tell you the numbers and a couple of players I think are notable enough to tell. So, for 22, who is now Ryan Suter's number, the last time it was worn was by Logan Brown in 2022 to 2023. Then, of course, we have Chris Thorburn, who were in 2018, 2019. And when I'm thinking of guys, I mean, obviously, I have to go back to that 1996. I think of Craig Tivish. I don't know why I do. Charlie Huddy in 96. Ian Lapierre, Lappy Word in 94 to 96. Then you have Ron Sutter who wore it. I mean, you have a good amount of guys who wore 22. So 22 is a solid number. Then see, this is the problem with some of these players' names. Faxa. But I want to say Foxa, but it's not. It's Faxa. Whatever. He is going to be wearing number 12. I also thought 12 would be more of a valuable number, but it's not really. I mean, last season, Kevin Hayes wore 12, so I'm glad that we have a new guy wearing 12 that isn't going to be a drama queen. Previously, with Zach Sanford from 2019 to 2021. It is always funny. I don't know why, but Corey Stillman from 2001, 2002 had it. I always think of like the most random players too, and I always find myself cracking up. I'm like, oh, Adam Oates and 90 to 92. And then anybody else that was that big of a deal? Dickie Moore in 68. Ooh, sheesh. All right, then we have Texier with number 9. 28 players on the Blues were 9. The last guy to wear 9 was Tyler Pitlick. But you know who also were number 9 at one point? From 2019 to 2021, Sammy Blais. That is right, Sammy Blais used to wear number 9. Scotty Upshaw in 2018 did. Jaden Schwartz. How can you forget Jaden Schwartz from 2012 to 2014? Oh, man, that makes me so sad. Tyson Nash, 99 to 2003. Then you can take a little bit of a lookity back. And let's go see who. Ab DeMarco. Forgot about him. 73 to 74. I always find this so fun. I don't know why. All right, then we have the Joseph brothers. So Matthew Joseph, who is going to be wearing 71. When it comes to 71, there are 2 players. So definitely unique. The last guy in 2019 was Jordan Nolan. And then in 2017, 2018, it was Vladimir Sabataka. So, little, you know, fun fact, I guess. And then Pia was wearing 77, and there was 5 players. Most notably, I mean, honestly, I kind of like crack up a little bit because I'm like, these guys. Um, so this was 2020 to 2023. It was Nico Mikola. Then in 2017 was Brad Hunt. 2011 was TJ Hensick. Then you had Jay McKee in 2008 to 2009. And then Prier had it in 97 and 01. So 5 new numbers for the guys. Honestly, if you ask them what the best hockey numbers are, I usually say 191 because it was Vladimir Tarasenko. Nobody else has worn that number. I also think about popular numbers like 10. Right now we have Braden Shen. Obviously, before Braden Shen was Scotty Upshaw, and I was a huge Scotty Upshaw fan for that time. Not a long time, but for that time. We had a lot of guys wear number 2, actually. That was another popular one, was 2. But obviously after Al, that's done. Obviously. In our history, we've had a lot of people wear 21. The last guy was Tyler Bozak, and I miss him dearly. 25 is popular. 29 players of 25. Right now, it's obviously Jordan Kyrou, Ruzi, but it was Chris Butler, Chris Stewart. Was it a bunch of just Chris's at one point? As we had a lot of guys wearing 25. I'm trying to think about other popular numbers on the Blues. 37 actually was quite popular. With like 13 guys. 15, 29 players were 15. So last guy was Jacob Vanra, obviously. 19, that's my favorite number, by the way. Oh, Jay was the last one. 23 popular. I mean, like, just obviously some of the hockey numbers. 26 popular. I mean, Nathan Waka for 4 years so far. So I'll end up having that for like 6 in total. But yeah, I always like looking at numbers. I find it interesting. Now, there are a couple of numbers that only have one player, but other than that, every number has been worn at least, it looks like at least once. So Zach Balduke had 76. He was the first one to ever have that. Justin Folk had 72. Again, only player to have that. Vladdy with 91, only player to have that. James Neal, 2022, only player to have 81. Then in 80 was Steve McLaurin. Only player. 86 was Natika. So yeah, I always find that so interesting. Does anybody else find that whole thing with numbers interesting? Now, for me, I know that this is not everyone's cup of tea, but I do love the numbers aspect of hockey. I love, the history of wearing a number, and I don't know. It's just something that, well, obviously, and by the way, obviously 99 is retired for, Wayne Gretzky, our captain of 18 days. So I don't need anyone coming at me. I'm just saying that I do find it kind of funny, but um yeah. Other than that, all the numbers have been taken at least once, and now there are no new empty numbers on the Blues, which is kind of a crazy thing to think about. So, honestly, it's a good day for the Blues because now I feel like the foundation of the team is coming together now that these guys have numbers. And I like that both of the Joseph brothers are wearing numbers in the 70s. I think that's actually kind of cool, to be honest. I like unique numbers. That's one thing about me. And I just feel like, I don't know, 22 is such a strong suited number for Suter. I really do like that. 22. And I like 12. So yeah, good numbers. 71 and 77. Interesting, but good. All right, I'm going to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel as my cat sits on me because she is clingy. This is Stella, by the way. She is my co-host of Locked On Blues, and she watches all the Blues games with me. So be sure to say hi to Stella in the comments if you want. All right. I love sports. I love them so much, and I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone all day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. So let's go talk some bets that you can make as today the Texas Rangers are here in St. Louis to begin this series. So let's go talk about the National Series really fast. Yeah, they lost that one. I mean, they did win yesterday, but they got smoked on Saturday, losing 14-3, and then obviously that 10-8 loss on Friday. So not good. Rangers, tough one ahead, honestly. But I would say take the Cardinals money line tonight. That's just my guess because I think they're going to bounce back and be fine. But let's talk Blues. Are we assuming the worst with this upcoming season? And the answer is I think we might be as a fan base. Now, listen, I'm not going to say that I am miss positive because I am not about anything about this team. I'm definitely not positive. But I do feel like maybe there is a little bit too much negativity from, the fan base and how we're feeling. I get the frustration. I do. At the end of the day, this is a team that has a lot of problems and has a lot of things that need to be resolved. And the Blues are not going to be able to resolve those things until they get on the ice for training camp and work it out. I mean, you have a bunch of new players, which is a good thing. You have, and I'll talk about this in tomorrow's episode about Dvorsky and how he wants to make the team. But you have an opportunity to really exceed this season. And I think the Blues have the capability to do so. I think as a fan base, though, from this perspective, yeah, it's a little negative right now. It's a little bit on a, I don't want to say down, but the emotions are not up and high and happy. I think the reason why is it might be a sense of defeat. Like, we've executed basically nothing these past two seasons. You know, we try to get back into the playoffs, especially this season. I would say it was an improvement from last season, but the job still didn't get done. The Blues still fell short. So I think that there is this like a sense of frustration within the fan base, and the what ifs they don't get back to the playoffs. That will be 3 consecutive seasons. I've talked about this plenty of times. Every time I do a crossover, every time I have an opportunity to talk to somebody else on this podcast, I say it. I believe the Blues will get back to the playoffs this season. Last season, I said the only way would be a wild card spot. And I agree. I don't think that changes. I think that the Blues' only way of getting to the playoffs this season is to get a wild card spot. However, because there is a however, let's go say Dvorsky is able to play with the Blues and he starts the season with them. That could be a huge boost. All I'm saying is it takes a couple players to really elevate a team. And I do believe the Blues have what it takes. You have Robert Thomas. You have Jake Neighbors. Say what you want, but you have a Jordan Kyrou. You have guys on this team that are able to execute. And for me, I see hope. I see potential. I see a lot of things. Now, for you, I understand, what real changes are the Blues going to do? It seems like you're picking up all these old guys, and I'm not calling these guys old. I'm just saying from what I'm seeing. And with that, I understand where you're coming from as a fan. I understand the frustration of getting a guy like Ryan Suter who you're like, wait, hold on. That's who you're going to get? But at the end of the day, some veteran players do make huge impacts on teams. And I'm not saying he's going to be getting a lot of minutes because he probably won't be. It will be around 15 to 20 minutes a game. I see him on the third pair. I don't see him on the first or second at all, okay? But I do believe that when you have a veteran player like him, especially now that Krug will most likely be out for the entire season, if things don't go right with his rehab assignment, it's going to be beneficial. Is it going to be better than Torrey Krug? Probably not, but it's still going to be beneficial. Who knows? It might be better than Torrey Krug. I think the problem is that we're just assuming that this is going to be a failed season. But I don't want to be in that mindset. That's not a fun mindset. Watching hockey, watching your team's hockey is supposed to be fun. I want to have a fun, grand old time watching my St. Louis Blues in action. But how am I going to have a fun time watching the Blues if it's so negative, right? I want it to be positive. I mean, this is watching hockey. This isn't supposed to be a thing that I'm watching where I'm constantly upset. This is a hockey game. This is a hockey team that I love. So, what can we do as a fan base to maybe say, hey, listen, things this offseason may not have gone the way that I wanted them to, but it does benefit the team. You know, I feel like I haven't even talked about Texier at all, and I'll do a whole episode on that. But all I'm saying is the Blues' offense got better. The Blues' defense got better. Say what you want about the defense, it did get better. I mean, listen, it couldn't get worse, right? But they did make some good moves. You still have one of the best goalie tandems in the NHL. I mean, now especially that the Bruins, that one has kind of split. You could still make the argument that right now Banner and Hofer are the best. I mean, they both represented Canada in Worlds, which was kind of cool. Like again, like how cool is that? You have your two goalies, you have your starting goalie and your backup goalie in Worlds together. Like that is a pretty cool thing. Like the Tatum stayed alive. So I think that at the end of the day, I want to be positive going into the season. I want to be excited going into the season. I don't want this whole narrative of, oh, another failed season ahead for the St. Louis Blues. What fun is that? We're also playing in the Winter Classic this year. So even though it is on the 31st, which kind of sucks, it's still an awesome experience. Going to be in Chicago. But there is a lot of eyes on the Blues this year, I feel like. And maybe it's just me and my opinion, but I do feel like being a rival to Chicago, there's going to be more eyes on us just because of Bedard still being new in the league. And the NHL does that where they like to focus on rivals and like, fine, like make us the bad guy in the rival, but at least like we're getting to play in the Winter Classic. That's one thing, by the way, that I found so funny is that I know that the NHL definitely looks at St. Louis as like the enemy in this one, right? But it just cracks me up because I'm like, well, Chicago is one of the worst organizations in the NHL. Actually, you know what? I'll take that back. If it wasn't for Chicago, there wouldn't be a St. Louis Blues team. And I've talked about this kind of jokingly before, but it's like a legit thing with our history. Like, look it up. It's actually insane. But like Chicago, to sum it up, they wanted to have a rival. We're kind of close to Chicago. I know we are, but like we're close to Chicago. And there we go. How about in St. Louis? And here we are. So, I mean, it was really Chicago that got us to be where we're at. So I guess thank you, Chicago. I still hate Chicago. Don't get it wrong. There are certain teams that I really, really dislike. Chicago is one of them. But I can thank them for winning a rival because, hey, you got us. And that's never going away. And then there was that whole point where the Blues were going to move to Canada. Like, our history, honestly, is quite insane. But we're staying put. We're not moving. And now it's I don't know. Like, I think about it quite a bit. I'm like, wow. We came into this league because of Chicago. We almost relocated to Canada. Like, we've really been through the ringer, honestly. But it's a crazy amount of history that the Blues have. Like, having Wayne Gretzky for those 18 days, it's crazy. And I love it. I do, because it is just such a St. Louis thing. But anywho, I just want to let you guys know that you can like this video if you want to, but if you don't want to like it anyways, because you're going to have to subscribe. That is right. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Blues here on YouTube. I am begging you right now to subscribe. Click the video share with your friends. Listen, it is summertime, late July. I talk Blues every single day. Even if you don't agree with my opinions, let me know in the comments. Tell me what you think. This is a platform where you and I can have some conversation together, and I think it just creates for some really good Blues conversation. So just, stay involved, say hi, say what's up, and I'll appreciate you. So I asked this question today because I was really curious about leadership with non leaders. And why do I even bring this up? Well, for one thing, I'm a huge leadership person. Like before we named Braden Chen the captain last season, I was really annoyed that the Blues didn't have a captain. And then late in the summer, they announced it. So I was like, finally. I hate the idea of going into a season without a captain. I do. That's like my biggest pet peeve in hockey. I think teams that do that, it's such a joke. You need to have your captain, you need to have your leaders. Like, you can't take that away. That's one of the foundations of hockey that I truly do love the most. So I didn't like that. But I was curious. And I asked you on Twitter, X, whatever you want to create it, what player would you want to see take on your leadership role that hasn't before? So here are a couple of responses. Dak says Boosh or Sod. Kevin says Sunny. And then I got a spam message. So I'll talk about Sunny. I think Oscar Sundquist truly does love everything St. Louis. Big fan of our soccer team, city, like everything. Him and his girlfriend, I don't know if they're engaged now, but I know that they're just huge St. Louis people. They love it here. And I love that. I know she's from here, I believe. I don't dig too much on people's personal lives, but I do believe she's from the city. I would not be upset seeing him with a letter. Now, do I think playing wise he deserves it? No. But do I think locker room wise, passionate wise, he does? I could see him. Booch, yeah, at one point, Pavel Buchnevich, I do believe he will get a letter. Maybe not this season, maybe you know what I'm saying. But I do believe at one point he will have one. Sod, no, I like Sod. I just don't see him having a letter now. A player that came to my mind when I thought about letter was actually one day down the road, Jordan Kyrou. I could see him. I think that there's an odd amount of heat that he gets from the fans, from just hockey fans in general, even. I don't necessarily get it, but I do think if he continues to play consistent hockey, he's still good on the ice. I could see him definitely getting a letter. I really don't know why he gets the hate that he gets. Maybe someone in the comments can let me know because I have tried to figure it out. I just can't. And it bothers me a lot because I do believe that he is a good asset to this team. I believe that he has been playing a lot better, but I just don't get it. One day deep down the road, Jake Neighbors, I could definitely see. But other than that, I mean, I feel like we're good, I could never see, and this is not a disrespect, I could never see like Tyler Tucker Perunovich, not Walker, Tika, none. But it's not a diss. I think that it's just there's certain players that you kind of know one day will get a letter, and then there's players that you are kind of like, oh no, these are good guys for the team. Maybe just guys that are not going to be leaders. So just a fun little conversation. And who knows, like you might disagree with me, and then that leads for even more conversation. So definitely leave me a comment down below. I will talk to you tomorrow. And like always, how I say in every single episode, let's go Blues.